From the KATC Weather Lab, here's Rob's forecast.
Welcome back and welcome to the weekend. Guess what? It's going to be a hot one, and we're almost at the point we feel like we have to apologize for this warm weather that just doesn't want to go away. But we're going to take a look for some cold fronts. Hunting cold fronts will be the name of this weathercast. We'll talk more about that a little bit later on. So let's take a look at the big picture as we look across the lower 48. And man, this ridge of high pressure is super dominant right now. It's been producing high heat in the southeast. It's moved down into the Gulf of Mexico, which essentially is blocking any tropical moisture from coming in the Gulf. I thought this upper low might travel to the west. Well, that's not going to happen. That's moving to the north. Another ridge of high pressure building behind it in the wake of what was the remnants of Karen, and elsewhere monsoonal flow in the west, that's quieting down, but big storms erupting across the Midwest. As we go over to the enhanced infrared channel, you can see the Gulf of Mexico for the most part, the Caribbean pretty quiet, just a little bit of an upper low down here towards Central America. And we have the remnants of Karen that have pretty much fallen apart. The National Hurricane Center has stopped issuing bulletins on that, so we'll wipe that one off the map. And the only one left is a major hurricane still, Lorenzo. It maxed out at 145-mile-per-hour winds yesterday and became one of the strongest storms on record so far out into the east central Atlantic. And this was a huge storm, so huge that swells were reaching South America yesterday, and tonight they're reaching the Windward Islands. So that's a big storm when it's casting swells out across the entire ocean. And it doesn't look as good as it did yesterday. Obviously, on satellite imagery, it went over some cooler water, so that kind of slowed things down. But this is going to stay a fairly large storm throughout its next 4 or 5 days. It's a Cat 3 right now with 120-mile-per-hour winds. We'll gradually go down to a 2, and then we'll transition to what we call an extratropical low. But look at these wind speeds. It's still going to be near 100-mile-an-hour storm, whether it's tropical or not, as it goes west of the Azores. And because it's got a big circulation, they're going to have some winds to deal with as we go into the middle part of next week. We got it here Wednesday, Thursday there, midnight, Wednesday night. So it'll be about mid next week, so that could impact that land area. Meanwhile, as we take a look at the tropical moisture, we don't see a whole lot going on. We stay in the blue. Some rain chances tomorrow, maybe over toward Texas, but they're no higher than 10 to 20%. And this is what we have to keep an eye on. Tropical moisture pooling now, not seeing much in the way of any kind of development down the line, but eventually maybe some showers here as we get into next weekend, but I wouldn't bet on it at this point. Here's the long-range GFS model. This one's not too bad. Look, it shows a cool front, but it kind of washes out across the area. Then another stronger front, but this is over the next week to 10 days. And then we shift over to the European model, and it's not as aggressive on the frontal boundaries. In fact, cool air will dive into the southeast U.S., but bypass us. And then a couple of more fronts, but this one runs out of gas. Maybe this one, but the bottom line, we don't see a real good-looking cool front yet. And the European model indicating broad low pressure, perhaps, as we go into next weekend and into early the following week. So something that we will certainly keep an eye on. Here's the 24-hour forecast. Tomorrow, temperatures topping out near 90. And once again, those heat indices right near 100, as we told you a little bit earlier in the show. And that continues through next week. In fact, daytime highs into the first few days of October could push the mid-90s toward the end of next week. So the summer beat goes on, but maybe some hope on the horizon. October 8th, looking a little bit more dubious.
It's your deadline, sir.
Yeah, we're going to keep the deadline and see if something changes between now and then.
All right, thanks, Rob.